office asset to each division. Look, you receive corporate the central service. I will allocate 20% of corporate asset base to you. You add 30%, 40% depending upon a activity base. You use our service this much, you should be responsible for 30% of our asset base when you compute this. So this book value of asset is another problem. Not much of a control because U.S. GAAP prescribe book value of asset. Now, ideally, fair market value of asset would be much better if you use. But we are using net book value, historical cost minus accumulated depreciation. See the problem? You can use this to say, hey, you didn't meet our target ROE. If you are smart enough as a divisional manager, you can say, you know what, I don't control that asset. If you hold me responsible for that part of asset, my ROE is really unfair figure because you are computing my salary and the compensation bonus based upon this asset that I don't have any control over. These are DuPont models. See, DuPont. They have worldwide operation. They are rewarding managers using this model, with this one. They look at three components. If they don't meet this one, if they increase efficiency, as long as they post target ROE, they reward a divisional manager. Years ago, a friend of mine at Temple and I visit DuPont head office. One of the contact there has that data, stock option data. They are giving not only managers, but employees stock options, in order to retain high quality employee. And we were asking the data, the employee turnover, how effective stock option program is. We thought that was a good data to test whether stock option program is effective or not. So the day we visit a DuPont head office, their stock option, managerial stock option, the stock also, they must provide service, let's say best period. They must pay for managers 2-3 years, for employees 6 months to 1 year. So that is the vesting period, service period. Once you satisfy this, stock price, in order for the stock to be vested, the stock price must hit $75 5 days in a row. Back then, this was a target price, and one of the conditions, in addition to serving this period, stock price must be $75 above 5 days in a row. Then you can exercise your option. The day we visit was last day. 75, 76, 77, although 75, last day. Everybody was excited. Look, today, if we hit, our stock is hit more than 75, number of shares, see, this is their income. In other words, number of options multiplied stock price, Friday that stock price, current a price, and minus a strike price. Strike price is the exercise price on the option. This will be their income. See, number of options. Let's say employee, 1,000 options. Current price, $80. The price, strike price or exercise price is $40 per share. Somehow they got this exercise price. $40 per share multiplied 1,000. This is 40,000 will be, except for the transaction cost, that is my compensation as of this Friday afternoon. They were excited about this last day. So we got the data, and we analyzed the data. What we found was 180 degree different from management expectation. They thought if they give out stock option, they will retain high quality employee. Instead, from the data analysis, we found high quality employees will take off to another big job, another company, once stock option is vested. You know, I own this stock option, I don't have to stay here anymore. They are offering better compensation to me. Why don't I just take over another job? So we say, well, good to give employees stock option, but there is a dysfunctional aspect of the stock option program because some of the high quality employee has a high turnover because they got better offer from your rival company. Well, we published a paper, journal that was very good for us, but then I don't know how DuPont fixed that problem because that's defeats the purpose of stock option. Stock option is to retain high quality management and employee. Well, it was not the case. They were losing high quality employee. Given this much of problem, now using financial statement, so let's do how we fix this problem and what's the fair way of computing this one. So now, instead of DuPont model, net income over average stockholders' equity, same average stockholders' equity, but we'll disaggregate operating to non-operating return. Now, when we decompose this, ROE will be operating return and non-operating return. RNOA plus financial leverage, and RNOA and NNEP. Why NNEP? Net non-operating expense percentage, and this is net borrowing cost. Net borrowing cost. In other words, if you look at here, the easiest way to understand this is the balance sheet. You have assets here, how much you are making by investing assets, and here how much you are paying for your liability. Ideally, this has to be return, has to be greater than this one, right? Otherwise, you are losing your money. So here, the difference between this and this is operating spread. In other words, how much you are making? Well, I borrow money from a chemical bank, a city bank at 10% interest rate, but operating return, if I do my business, I am making 20% return. My operating spread, 10%. So I am making 10% return based upon this. why this model is better than DuPont model? Well, at least we know here where they post this. Well, let's go one more here. RNOA is net financial obligation. What is the leverage? Leverage is how much debt you are taking on compared to your equity, average common stockholders equity, how risky you are. Remember that equity ratio? The net financial obligation, or average common stockholders equity. Now, you multiply that by RNOA minus NNE, net non-operating expense, over net non-operating obligations. In other words, for borrowing money, how much you are paying. That's the percentage you are paying. Percentage you are paying. If I go one more, we know RNOA. This RNOA is a two component from a module 1. It's a profit and turnover. This is function of profit, margin, and a turnover. That we toward the end of the module 1, that was the case. For this, financial obligation minus financial asset over 60. Net financial obligation, yes, for most of the case, except for the few big companies, your financial obligation, like loan, financial obligation, money you borrow from the bank, financial institution, long-term debt, bond payable, mortgage payable would be greater than a financial asset like cash, short-term investment security. And so you have RNOA minus NNE over NNO. Okay, now you have this. Module 1 also, we read about take the extra copy for Michael. I'm sorry. Yeah, Michael is not here. Now, I think I can get on the internet because yeah, I saw some Wall Street Journal. They asked the additional money if I want to subscribe online. I'm not gonna pay twice. It's ridiculous. I just can't believe it. Let me see whether I can get this.
Do you need the Wall Street Journal? I have a login.
Oh, you have a login? Let me see. That's great. Yesterday, all allowed me to log on. Yeah. This is the graph that I wanna discuss with this model on the whiteboard. I can explain this with this model. Watch this. EPS growth, earnings growth without buyback. It's Cisco 7.1%, Microsoft 7.5, IBM 10.5, Oracle 18.2. But if you purchase, after they purchase their share back, their EPS is 10%, 11, 16, 19.3. Do you notice any pattern here? What am I missing from the list?
I'm just trying to figure out your acronyms. I'm kind of lost. I'm sorry.
Okay, no. We'll go slow here. We'll go slow. On net operating financial leverage, net non-operating expense percentage. This is a net non-operating expense, net non-operating obligation. That's it.
Obligation.
Obligation.
Thank you.
I can't believe I don't have that on the list.
No, it's not from here.
See it? I even make a mistake. No, it was a joke. Okay, I make mistake all the time. Now, what common thread you can find out from this graph? In other words, this is without, this is with purchase. What kind of pattern? Mario, any pattern there?
Goes up.
Goes up. Which way? Yes, goes up. Goes up. It goes up. Good. Goes up from 7.2 and it goes up. Is there any artificially manipulating this increasing percentage? John, it goes up. Now, what way? I mean, if I don't know anything about stock buyback, I only look at EPS. Why they want to have this ratio as opposed to the percentage as opposed to this? Why?
To attract more investors.
Yeah, but why? My question, that is true. My question is whether there is a trend, the pattern here. This pattern and this pattern. If I don't know anything about accounting, finance, economics, if I look at this pattern, I'll be really impressed. See, I'll be really impressed because, see, they put 10%. Is it coincidence?
Oh.
They're round numbers with that.
Double digits.
They bought back just enough to post 10% increase? 11?
Just to hit double digits.
Why not 14? Over 15? Well, 19 is better than 18 here. But here, this is so-called a Wall Street. They say this is right like this. You always want to cross the bar. 9%, they will be impressed, not much. If we say we have a double-digit increase, yes, that's impressive. Yeah, as opposed to 9.9, if I put 10% here, our EPS this year has double-digit increase. We cross 10%, more than 10%. We pass way beyond 15%. You know what they're saying? Management, how they take advantage of this number? Now, why this is one advantage of that. What's the journal entry when you have the treasury stock? You know, when you purchase your stock back? What are the debit and credit? Yeah, debit credit treasury stock and credit cash. You need cash. Okay, next week. Cash is non-operating asset, financial asset. They spend billions of dollars to burn their cash, so this will go down. What happens to common stockholders' equity if you have treasury stock? Goes down, goes up.
Goes down. No, actually goes up because you're buying back, it means you're doing good when you share that. But it's treasury.
It's on the book. It's on the book. It's a book value. It's not market price. It's not market price. It's on the book. Now, debit treasury stock is a bracket amount here, right? So if it go down, what happens to your financial leverage? If that goes down, this goes down, what happens to here?
The overall number was lower.
Way up, right? This will your numerator will go up, your denominator will go down, this financial leverage will go all the way up. If financial leverage goes up, as long as you have operating leverage, positive operating leverage, your ROE will shoot up. Be aware of stock repurchase toward the end of the year. They are buying their share back in order to post their target ROE. Otherwise, they will not get any compensation for some company. See?
So it's a temporary ROE increase, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Just for purposes, just to.
In order to use company funds to again manage their personal interest,
To make themselves look good.
make more money, retain their job. See, this is one example. By that, yeah, number of common stock outstanding will go down if you notice, and it's coming up, but everybody will think of stock buyback. The primary advantage benefit will be EPS, will be net income minus preferred stock dividend. For common shareholders will never get a earning set aside for a preferred shareholder. This is weighted average numbers of common stock outstanding. Weighted average common stock outstanding will be reduced by this stock buyback, the treasury stock. This will be a number one benefit when you buy your stock back. This is hidden. This is not known to a average users of financial statement. But if you buy back, that will directly impact your financial leverage. By increasing financial leverage, see, if you increase financial leverage, increase risky, because the more debt you have here, the more debt you have, the more risky your operation will be, and investors will expect to have higher return. No risk, no return coming from this model. No risk, no return. Higher the risk, they expect to have higher return. That's why the higher this, ROE will go up. If you don't take a risk, you're not going to get anything. That's why, in order to be safe with your money, if you buy a US Treasury stock, you're not going to earn any money other than catching up barely, maybe, if you're lucky, inflation with the current interest rate. Okay? Since I have this model on the whiteboard, you're supposed to make a copy, right? Here. Whatever you do on the whiteboard, you're supposed to have your copy machine here. I don't think so.
I think it's way past that.
Yeah, in 1998, I was in Minnesota. My family says, go to city. Let's move to the city. So I went to big city, a job interview. Texas Christian University, Fort Worth, Dallas. They have bigger, much bigger than this whiteboard, and presentation. After presentation, about 20 people, so someone came here, 20, and here's a copy, 20 copy came out, they hand out this. That was 1998. But that is it. This is like different shade, but I don't think we can.
There's paper in there.
Is paper here?
Yeah, if you press open, that button right there. Yeah, there you go. I discovered that last week.
Yeah. And this is the copy. That was the A4. A4 because keep coming out. And then I hand out 20 some copies to the audience. And they don't take note. I was surprised. And they were waiting for my copy. Well, gentleman came out. You don't have that service. So, why we have this model on the board? Anyone can check how much now with the computer or cell phone, the smartphone, how much Apple has cash and short-term security, marketable security. Let's check.
I'm Sean's on it.
Yeah, it's
You have an individual that takes your seat.
it's easier to, since we have this model, people will use it. How much is the cash, short-term in the marketable securities and long-term investment? Long-term marketable securities. Raw form. I don't need the specific numbers.
Hang on. Balance sheet. Okay. Current assets,
No, the cash and
Cash.
short-term marketable securities.
cash and short-term market. Let's call it 24 billion,
Together.
25 billion.
And go to long-term marketable securities. Slide down.
130 billion.
So they have cash of 155. Is it 155 total?
135, yeah.
155
130
In total.
total.
Yeah.
35, 120, 155. Okay. Now it's going up.
Yeah.
While ago, when I checked, it was 120. Now 155 billion.
The new iPhone came up as well.
See, 155 billion here. 155 billion. That's financial asset. What that will do to your ROE? Financial asset. They don't have financial obligation because they have too much cash. They don't have to borrow money with $155 billion. Therefore, whatever they have is total financial asset, which is non-operating asset, 155 billion cash in here with the financial leverage model. This is 155. What will happen to your ROE when you carry this much of cash? That is the what will happen over effect.
No, the larger the numerator, the larger the return.
Yeah, but it's a negative right now. It's a negative because they don't have not much. 155 billion, so this term will be negative, right? Whole term, financial leverage will be negative. Their operating return is above 40%, averaging 40%. They have a huge negative financial leverage. Therefore, you subtract this and multiply this, subtract, let's say 20-25%. Therefore, your RNOA is 40%, but your ROE is simply 15%. Why this is the case? If you're sitting on cash will not bring any return. So this model is penalizing managers for sitting on too much cash because cash will not bring 40%. They don't earn any return. The more cash you are sitting on, the more negative impact on ROE, well, I don't think Apple use ROE to reward or compensate their, punish their managers. I think they simply use the stock price or any other measure because they are giving out stock options and with that much of cash, other compensation mechanisms. But this will make sure, this model will make sure you don't sit on too much cash. Idle cash. Look, if you keep all your savings into checking account, yeah, it may be safe for years to come. After inflation, you're losing your money. If you save all your, the money into checking account. Same thing here. If you put that much of money in long-term marketable securities and checking account, this will be whole negative. They have negative financial leverage, and that will have negative impact on your ROE. Now we look at operating return, non-operating return. If we saw impact of buying back your share, positive impact, big positive impact because financial leverage is going up. And sitting on too much cash will penalize management right away using this model. This model is very effective to monitor, manage their performance. What would the other advantage of share buyback? Share buyback, we have this ROE increase, EPS increase, buying back your own share has many other advantage, right? You defend hostile takeover, yourself from a car icon and people can hostile takeover. They are offering 20-30% a premium kicker, equity kicker, sweetener, they say sweetener. And by making your shares less available in the market, you reduce the chance of being taken over by these two gentlemen. What is benefit of buying your share back? Other than that, a hostile takeover defense.
You make the stock go back, increasing the value.
Yeah, you reward a stockholder by paying back current share price, which is a capital gain. Capital gain has much lower income tax rate than ordinary dividend income tax because that is subject to 22-27% typical capital gain tax. Well, that has been narrowing. Typical capital gain tax is about 15%. There's a big argument about it. They say, oh, it's not fair state income, so why don't we put them together at the 15% ranges? But that is big a discussion because one party favors the capital gain, the other party says no, depending upon your funding sources. What else? This since we have this model here, you reward your shareholders by giving them cash back, and this is much better than dividend. By buying back, rewarding shareholders with cash is much better than paying dividend for one more reason other than tax. Tax preparation and this tax, obviously tax is lower with capital gains, stock repurchase. Stock repurchase. If I pay current market price and buy back my share, signaling is this. You want to try to send the signal to the market. My share has been undervalued. This is the best time to buy. And that's why you improve liquidity, market liquidity for your a stock. In other words, people will be lining up. Oh, management is spending $5 billion to buy their own share back. They must have very good news coming out. So that will increase liquidity, financing for the company. What could be other benefits of buying back shares? Or disadvantage now?
They can,
Advantage and disadvantage, yeah.
they can manipulate also well with the market. They can buy back just to bring extra cash because people gonna like price are gonna increase, so people gonna start buying more stock. So
Yeah, make the market. In other words, that will give them a incentive to engage to buy and their own stock. We say not anybody is interested in buying my stock, so why don't I spend company money? Why don't I buy back? And then hopefully everybody will jump in to get my shares, and then that will drive my share price up. We say make the market. Repurchase, treasury stock transaction, sometimes make the market. What else would be benefit or disadvantage of downside of this upside downside stock repurchase? Because it has to do with the corporate governance. This is not simple transaction. This has to do every corner of your financial statement, every corner of their contracting relationship between shareholders, the investors, and a manager.
isn't it a way to use up your cash to kind of manipulate that part of the?
Yeah, see, when they buy back their share, they always say, yes, we decide to reward loyal investors. They always say that. Meaning, we don't know what to do with this cash sometimes. Look, we have billions of dollars. In this case, this is the extreme case. No other corporation has this much of cash available. We have this much of cash. We just ran out of investment opportunity. We don't know where to invest. So turn around and say, we decide to reward our loyal shareholders. Burning cash. Burning cash, what most of them will believe, oh, they decide to return money they earn to the shareholders. That's good. In many cases, if you go to a good example would be 2005 Microsoft. 2005 Microsoft. They were like Apple back then. Not as much, but what they did was they increased dividend a little bit, but then $40 billion over several quarters, stuff like that. $40 billion, stuff like that. Back then, overall market says they just ran out of a new investment opportunity. They stuck with operating system. They don't know where else they invest. Almost true. So they returned $40 billion to shareholders over several quarters. And they use exact same language. We decide to reward loyal. One big advantage of this stock repurchase as opposed to dividend is flexibility, so-called hypothesis. If you give out through the dividend, pay dividend, and give cash to the shareholders, you are committing yourself at that level. You can reduce. Yes, you can, but then share price will go down. So once you pay dividend, you stay there. If you don't have cash, you pay stock dividend. Stock is not doing very well. They do spin off. They pay dividend. Last thing they want to do is a skip dividend and slash dividend. If they do, oh, they don't even have money for a cash dividend for retirees. They must have really serious problems. So we say dividend doesn't have flexibility. This stock repurchase, you don't have to do every quarter. Stock dividend every quarter, right? But stock repurchase once, twice a year, once every few years, very flexible for managers to burn their cash. But you don't want to come in 20-30% dividend increase, because once you pay, you have to pay at that level at least and above. You are stuck with that level of dividend. So we say this is the flexibility hypothesis. How many of you think this is the coincidence? Coincidence, 10, 11, 16. Yeah, I mean, back to that day, I thought this is not coincidence. Yeah, they reverse engineer. In other words, how many shares buyback will give us EPS growth of at least 10%? Oh, 5 million shares, purchase 5 million shares, and in order to get 10% increase. Yep. Question. See, here, right. How much I am making in terms of residual income? In other words, for here, you have RNOA, operating return, and here operating return, you subtract a operating return, and you subtract a cost of using someone else's fund. Therefore, here operating asset minus operating liability. By the way, this is net operating asset. Notice this. You see immediately how much I end up making depends on structure of operating assets and operating liabilities. Apple, Cisco, the company was here, Microsoft here, company that's 4-5 company, they usually have much higher operating liability than operating assets. In other words, account receivable and other operating assets are small amount, but then accounts payable, other payable is a huge amount. So for this company I listed here, this term will be what? Positive or negative? Since this is a huge compared to this, we saw the other day, this is twice as big as operating asset, this will be negative. Therefore, how much we are making will be RNOA minus the whatever the cost of capital is. This is not free. If you finance your operation from borrowing money from the bank, few percentage of interest will go up. So whatever is my cost of capital is, operating asset and operating liability, negative NOA. Okay, whatever I make will go up by minus, this will be plus. Plus NOA. In other words, if I say my suppliers and customers, to customers pay cash, you have maximum few days to pay this. Turn around to your supplier, you have 9 months to get my money. 9 months, not 9 months, 90 days. 3 months, 4 months to get my money. You collect cash from customers, accounts receivable is a minimum. Turn around, accounts payable maximum 3-4 months. So this term will be negative NOA, negative. In addition to making money from your operation, you are making extra return from free financing. We say we are floating our operations. Floating, free cash. That's why if you look at some of the high-tech corporations, financial statement will never give you share price of $50 per share. There is no way, given this earning, no fundamental value will support $50 per share. But if you find out how they operate, imposing this a huge credit term to your vendors and suppliers, demanding COD from customers, all these relationships, they are making extra return because they don't have to borrow. Your entire operation is financed by these guys, customers and suppliers. Free. Can you believe on the average, US public corporations pay 1/3 of the average. 1/3, 33%. If I make $100 million, $33 million is a cost of using someone else's cash. You don't pay that under this model. Wouldn't that be great? You say, oh, NOA, I don't, this is much better than DuPont model, but you might say, okay, you know what, I want to look at more detail. Financial statement item, show a more detailed item. I want to go one level deeper to find out RNOA. So what is this RNOA? After this, after we discuss this, what is the RNOA? RNOA is ROOA, return on operating assets. Remember, this is a return on net operating asset minus operating liability. But this is return on operating asset only, not net. Operating asset only plus. It's not financial leverage. Now we are within operating sector, operating return, operating leverage, liability, operating liability leverage. Operating liability leverage. Multiply ROOA and short-term borrowing rate, short-term borrowing cost. Look at this one. This is exactly same as this one, other than this is the whole picture of operating liability and asset. I want to look at only operating asset side. So this term can be broken into more detailed level, such as this. So we are driving down this ROE model all the way down from 30,000 feet high to a operating, non-operating, individual item, operating operating asset, account receivable, inventory, operating asset. Right? Account receivable, inventory is operating asset. So using this financial sheet, you can actually dissect managerial performance by driving down all the way into the individual balance sheet. You can find out really how well they did. And this will be our performance benchmark from now on instead of Dupont model. Dupont model, good, has been used for many years. There are numerous problems with that ROA model. That does not measuring a pure performance. This one. Replace this with this one, right here. Then ROE is this and this. In other words, ROE will be operating section, non-operating section. Operating leverage, financial leverage. Question?
You should do that whole thing again.
Yeah, the RNOA, what's that equation?
Oh, this one?
Yes.
Okay. Return on operating assets. Account receivable, inventory, all this. Property, plant, and equipment, office building. So return on operating assets plus operating liability leverage. How much you have operating liability leverage? How much you owe a account receivable and other payable within the operation? Bracket, multiply the bracket, ROA minus short-term borrowing cost. Because in order to finance account receivable purchase of inventory, you are going to finance with the short-term, ideally, and on the average, short-term borrowing cost, or short-term borrowing cost, you subtract, and depending on how much operating leverage you are taking on, that will be added onto your return on operating assets. How much do we have to know this? Everything. From now on, Dupont model, you're not using Dupont model. It is good if you have 5 tons, it looks fancy. 5 tons, we cover 3 tons, but you add tax, you add segment information to the equation, so you have 5 tons of Dupont model, fancy, you can compute really highly sophisticated numbers. That won't do anything good for our purpose. For our purpose, we need this. Do we have a class next week? No. Well, coming back, we have exact, right?
No, I think it's October 10th. Not the 10th? Yeah, not the 3rd.
Not the third?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a good idea. To have an exam on the 3rd.
October 3rd is not a good idea.
October 10th is good. October 10th is good.
10th is good idea.
Yeah.
We'll
10th.
find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find
10.
out. I already kind of know.
See.
ROA.
See,
Are we gonna have the situations of like
personal. At your work, you will have access to formula all the time. It's just a matter of how you approach financial statement. So you can bring in your formula sheet.
Or we can make a cheat sheet, you said? Or?
Yeah, I don't know call it cheat sheet, but
Crib notes.
formula. You can bring your own note. Just formula.
like the whole book, or
No,
just
I
like a
don't.
little sheet
Yeah, yeah, one page.
One page.
Double side. Good news, double side. Yeah, I always allow that in PMBA because their background is not accounting, and this is some of them. This is really tough. Here, I don't think you really need that. It's waste. But if you, while you're going over modules, if you summarize your understanding, if that is helpful, just read it. One page. Both double side. See, ROE will do this one, not a good idea. As we find out, we spent more than an hour to discuss why this, sticking with this has a problem, why this one should be used for a performance evaluation. Number one, I will emphasize this. Here, here, NOPAT, calculations, net operating profit after tax. So much trouble computing NOPAT. Pay close attention to NOPAT. That's a net operating profit after tax over average NOA. In other words, given amount of net asset, operating asset employed, how much you made after tax basis. That's the RNOA. Easier to say, and denominator is a straightforward. As long as you classify them into operating, non-operating, operating asset minus operating liability will be net operating asset, and taking average from beginning and ending, that will give you average NOA. That is not the problem. Problem is here, numerator. Not the problem, but tricky part would be current asset, what? This textbook. I like this textbook. Not that I know Peter, first co-author, but this textbook is not much technical. This textbook is okay with current example. That's why the example is current. That's why I chose this one. Now, you might say, look, if you use cash, if you need cash for your operation, part of cash has to be operating. But we treat them as 100%, and this textbook treats them as cash as a 100% financial asset, non-operating asset. But in Wall Street, they treat part of a cash as an operating asset because, well, you need money, cash, to run your business. And has to be, some part of the cash has to be operating asset. 0.5% to 2% of sales, 4% of total assets, set aside cash. If you have, let's say, $1 million, 0.5 or 2% of sales of this cash is operating, they set aside operating asset. This textbook just ignore that, just approximate 100% financial asset, non-operating asset. But some of them, 0.5, stable environment, old economy, brick industry, not much changes, 0.5%, as opposed to click, high tech, uncertainty, young, growing, 0.2. Then who use sales and total asset? Capital intensive industry use 0.5 to 2% of total asset. Capital intensive industry, and this is labor intensive industry to use a sales based operating asset approach. In other words, if someone keeps $10 billion cash short-term and long-term marketable securities, 1% average, only 1% average, 1%, which is what? 1% of 10 billion is how much?
Billion. Billion.
100 million, right? 100 million. 100 million will be treated as operating 1%.
1%.
Yeah, 100 billion, 1% is 1 billion. 10 billion, 1% will be 100 million. That 1 billion. And some of them use labor intensive, and some of them use capital intensive, so depending on. So let's not use this approach. We need to know when we go to work, we need to know some part of cash is operating asset, not 100% of that will be a operating asset. Investment, pension, obligation, and deferred tax. I read the formula. One more thing you need to be careful about is toward the end of the year, some corporations go to a market and dump their treasury bills and short-term investments. They achieve many different things with that. Not only they improve these ratios, they have some tax advantages doing that under certain circumstances. And main reason why they dump treasury bills, short-term investment market, US treasury bills, is to improve all different ratios, improving their ROE, improving their tax position, because if you satisfy few conditions, you will get huge tax benefit. So that's another frequent topics these days from Wall Street Journal. Now these will be operating. CFO, cash flow statement, cover this part, right? Cash flow statement. First top third of your cash flow statement covers here. Cash collection from customers, cash payment to suppliers. Little adjust. Operating and tax is operating also, but interest, dividend, or gain or losses, this will be a non-operating item. This is not main line of your business. So we don't treat them as a operating. So operating is here, and that interest, that capital leases, and interest income is here. Now, capital leases is a financial non-operating item. But if we remember correctly, here, capital leases. Here, this is the balance sheet. You lease assets here, long-term present value of long-term capital lease obligation, and look at here. If you lease aircraft, capital lease, then this will be operating asset. No. And now you say this is non-operating asset, liability. Look here, same item. You lease aircraft. On the asset side, long-term asset will be operating asset, and long-term capital lease obligation will be one operating asset, non-operating financial asset. Is a future. One of them, the morning coffee hour, new cohort starts today, PMAcc. Are you professor? Yes, I am. I heard you are teaching financial business. Well, not next year. I'll be taking 1 year off next year. You may not get me. I don't blame them. I don't know. The word got around. I shouldn't be careful. Here, see, it says capital leases, interest on capital. capital leases, interest, non-operating. But aircraft you just lease from Boeing will be operating asset. This is the asymmetrical treatment of accounting transactions. There are so many asymmetrical treatment between the buyers and sellers. Same transportation, buyers will treat a transportation as purchase item. In other words, capitalize this item, and then a seller's transportation cost will be just period expense, selling expense, selling expense. So for seller, transportation cost is a selling expense. For buyer, it is part of a purchase, part of transportation in will be part of purchase cost. Asymmetrical treatment. That's major accounting problem. One more reason why people don't trust financial statement is so many of asymmetrical. Same item goes this way, same item goes that way. Any other example of asymmetrical treatment? Well, I'm about to take a CPA exam. This is a good item that asymmetrical. Same item, but you have different treatment. Investment, depending upon classification. Management intention. Based on management intention for the same item, you go this way, you will look how you read management intention. Management changes anyway. But reading anyone's intention, and depending upon anyone's intention, you classify transaction that way. Tax shield. See, no pet. NOPBT, NOPAT, no pet. I want you to carefully take a look at it. You should be very comfortable with no pet here. The reason why you add back tax shield to 2,064 million multiplied by statutory income tax rate of 37%. You add back to your tax expense, you add tax shield, and you subtract from before tax net operating profit in order to arrive at no PAC. Because they reduce their income by including a not interest expense to reduce the income tax you pay, you create a tax shield in order to find out net operating, how much tax I really income after all tax paid. You have to add back because this was protected amount from non-operating expense such as the interest expense. So you add back and then subtract this to get NOPAT. So NOPBT for Walmart, NOPAT. This will be numerator for your ARNOA. And if you do beginning, ending, average net operating asset, that will be RNOA because no PAT over average NOA. So this, we use RNOA or last year, ROOA. Here, our computer just reported tax expense for the tax shield or net operating expense. Tax shield. See? You have to, since that much there was a tax shield, you have to add back to tax expense to combine all these tax expense and then subtract from before tax operating profit, non-controlling interest. Is net non-operating expense. The percentage you don't own. What do you think? And this is a conceptual question. This is nothing a fancy accounting question. It's simply a conceptual question. Non-operating NCI or MI, minority interest, or NI. Is it N and E? That's the question. Is it N and E? Net non-operating expense? Minority interest. What is the minority interest? Interest that you don't like.
Yes.
Like you don't like. That always bothers all the computations, and you know you have to carefully figure it out how much is the portion for that the minority. What is the minority? Matt, what is the
You will like you paying for someone for someone else who's owing your not shares like interest in your company.
Oh, interest in my company. Okay.
But that's not like stock.
Exactly, it's a subsidiary. You own the share of other company.
Mhm.
You have a control.
Controlling
Yeah,
interest.
then
Yes.
the little company and the income, then that will go into.
Okay,
the-
this is a parent company and this is a subsidiary company. You own 80% of this subsidiary. For our consolidated financial statement, include everyone, all the subsidiary. For 20% you don't own here, 20%, that is non-controlling interest, right? So you control 80%. The other guy control 20%, but then having 20%, you don't control anything. You just wait for the dividend income. They will make, this parent company will make 100% of the decision. So this is non-controlling interest. Question, is 20% interest in your subsidiary is net non-operating expense? That was the question. Jason, is expense? Expense, in order to satisfy expense, well, expense has to be cash outflow in order to bring future cash flow, right? Cash outflow. So you have to pay back non-controlling interest?
No.
No. They will change hands by themselves in the market, right?
It's no different than a stockholder.
Yes, stockholders, other stockholders. I mean, this is other stockholders. If they sell their stock or buy out, dump their stock, that's their own business. We don't have to pay back. We don't have to pay back. Therefore, it does not qualify as net non-operating expense. But this was the rule in 17th to 19th century in United Kingdom. When they have an industrial revolution, consolidation was done by proprietary theory. Proprietary theory. Under proprietary theory, I include only 80%. I don't care. I include only 80%. I ignore 20% because I don't own here. So under proprietary theory, it was a net non-operating expense because we treat them as expense. Obligation to pay out because we only own 80%, not anymore. Now, current GAAP is not using any of this. Current GAAP is subscribing entity theory. Entity theory. What is the entity theory? Well, if you own more than 50%, you make 100% of the decision. As long as you own more than half of the subsidiary stock, you include 100% of their assets and liability onto your consolidated financial statement, recognizing the fact that you control subsidiary. So we're not using this, but that was the beginning of consolidation theory, couple hundred years ago. Now, totally, we are subscribing totally entity theory with slight a modification. Not 100%, slight modification. Let's cover this slide and then we'll have a short break. We all know what red item is operating, black item is not operating. Now, well, we will spend some time on this DTA, DTL, derivation of balances, so capitalize this, natural resources. This natural resources is a topic today, natural resources. Here, we're beginning this class with a write down the amount as price kit oil in ground. Monday was the they are writing their asset down because oil price is half of the price, peak price, which was $100, around $100. Now $45 per barrel. Now, the reason why they have to take that much of a write-off and restructuring charges is this. Their asset amount went down after they record this. But first, they have to record acquisition costs. They have acquisition costs. They have to go to Gulf of Mexico. They must pay money to Mexican government or U.S. government for that area of drilling. You know, I have 5 years the right to drill down this area, and you pay acquisition costs. Now, drilling costs. You have to drill down to see whether they have successful oil well, economically feasible oil deposit. That's a chunk of your cost. Once you find out, that will be, you have to build up a stand, a helipad and all this, living quarters, and you stay there for years once you have that. And then EPA will come in and make sure you recover all the damage you sustained for the last few years to extract your oil, coal, a iron deposit. You add this up, and this is natural cost of natural resources. And this is natural resources here. This is not one item. Now, accounting-wise, it's simple. Now, if you have, let's say, 100, let's say, million barrel deposit, hopefully more than that, because 100 million barrels, 100 million barrels. Now, you have a cost, acquisition cost, drilling cost, developing cost, and then restoration cost, all of them. So here you have, let's say, 10 million for simple illustration. You add them up, all four of them, total cost is 10 million. So cost of extracting 1 barrel of crude oil will be 100 million barrel over 10 100 one amount is, how much is your 1 barrel cost?
Now? 45.
one amount is really small amount. Let's make this as 500. 500 million barrels. Hopefully more than that because current is price. So if you extract 1 barrel, that would be $5 per barrel. No, this is the cost. And let's say you extract this year out of 100 million barrels, let's say 10 million barrels. Then cost of your natural resources you just extract will be $50 million. This will go to income statement, sales, cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold will be this. Sales amount, you mark a percentage, 40, 50, or 60%. So this is the gross margin. That is the structure. In other words, this will be inventory. This, once you subtract, this will be inventory. Inventory will be expired. We say depleting. You depleted 10 million barrels here. This 10 million barrels is here. So your natural resources has been depleted by 10 million barrels, which is 10% of your estimated deposit. 10% depletion. So this is how you do accounting for this from a cost estimation and a per barrel basis, and then the inventory balance sheet and income statement a depletion. Main item is drilling. This is the main. This is the only accounting issue that White House discussed in 1980. Let me ask you this. Let's say this company, ExxonMobil, try 5A3. Gulf of Mexico, they pay millions of dollars for the exclusive right in that area to find out whether they have oil deposit. Now, luckily, second and fourth hole was successful oil well. They have lucrative, which is economically feasible oil deposit, and this is a dry hole. The further assume you spend each hole $1 million. $1 million each. Let me ask you this. How much will be a drilling cost? How much of that 5 million? This year, they tried 5 holes. Here, they were lucky. They find out they have 40% success rate, which is really good. How much will be part of capitalization, including in cost, and how much will be period expense? No, go ahead.
Would 2 million be the actual cost, and then the other 3 million is period cost?
Okay, here, 2 million capitalization, successful overhead, 3 million period expense, asset treatment. So 2 million successful overhead, yes. And this is also, what will be another one? This, consider all 5 million as asset because you say because what? The
Price of doing business, basically,
you gotta try in order to find out. In order to find out these two, you gotta try them all. If you know this same order is second and fourth, you should try it, right? You go right here. If you don't, you can't do that. That's why this is okay. This is successful effort method of accounting. This is a current gap. You have a choice. This is a full cost method, full cost capitalization. Guess who's using successful effort method and who's using full cost method.
Probably use full cost.
Full cost by who?
You're saying companies can choose which method?
Yeah. Once they choose, they must stay with one method, but they can choose. So let's say, I give you an example. Small and medium oil and gas firm as opposed to big. Who's using which method? Full cost by who?
That's
The smaller ones, right?
Full cost, smaller one. Why?
They can amortize that cost down.
Exactly. Minimum impact on income statement, right?
shows more assets for them too, right?
Yeah, show more asset. Show more asset means more equity. So this is favored by medium and small firm, and this is favored by this firm. Why? Why this firm likes to use
They have income that can be.
they are bringing too much income. See, they wanna reduce their tax obligations. They are bringing way too much. I don't know now. That would be a good example. But ExxonMobil, I shared this information in the first day of class. ExxonMobil was the only one company out of S&P 500 who reported huge record-breaking quarterly income when 499 S&P 500 report losses, like 2008-4. If this is the case, they can reduce their tax obligation big time, and they can say, we don't make that much of money. Our net income, earnings per share is this much, but you charge this much, yes. So more drilling activities you have, more expenses you have, and that way you answer that question. It's not an easy issue. Years ago, company choose, before 1976, 77, company can choose either one of them. Okay. And there was a big issue of earnings management. So SEC says, okay, you can use both of them. Recognize current value of oil deposit or iron deposit, coal deposit, and reserve recognition account, RRA. 100% of the firm will use RRA. You estimate how much deposit you reserve recognition accounting. Then problem is who measure oil deposit? It's anybody's guess. So after 4 years, 1984, SEC says, we made a mistake. And the White House intervened, and 1984 finally, okay, we go back to here. You have a choice, but if you choose one method, stay with that method. If you change that method, retroactively, you change your accounting record, and show cumulative effect on the face of financial statement. EPS. Not an easy issue. Not an easy issue. Still going on. This is one of the major agendas for last several decades. They can somehow settle this issue. Now, for using cases, we'll deal with this. We'll deal with the deferred tax and pension and valuation allowances. I think other class just finished the break. Let's have a short break. We'll come back.